Well, hello, welcome again to our reading of the Greek New Testament, and I'm just going to read through the Epistle to the Hebrews. We're reading through chapter 10, and I got up, I think, to verse 26 last time. Hekusios gar hamatanonton hemon metatolabain ten epignosin tesalatheas uk eti perihamatinon apoplepetai thusia. And I might just stop it there because it goes to a new page. Hekusios is an adverb. It's formed from originally hekon, a participle meaning willing, and this now is just an adverb formed from that, so willingly, and this is a genitive absolute. And so we have to put in something like if. So if we willingly commit sins, meta top plus infinitive, after having received the epignosis, the full knowledge of the truth, euketi no longer is a sacrifice left over regarding sins. So there is no sacrifice remaining regarding sins. Phobera de tis ek doke chrysios, to keep that in our heads, kai puros tselos esthie melontos tous hup enantius. So I'll just go back. So there is a certain phoberos is agreeing with ek doke. We've had ek decami to await. And so this is the abstract noun from this. It is a fearful expectation, I think is the usual translation of that, of judgment. So there is a certain fearful expectation of judgment, and now the tselos is nominative, puros is genitive here. The tselos, well, it has the sense of ardency or raging. So take these two together, and an ardency of fire, a raging of fire, and agreeing with the fire, the puros in the genitive, we get this participle, being about, esthie, literally to eat, probably we'd say to devour, tous hup enantius, those who are opposed. You might have expected katesthio here, which is the normal word for to devour. Esthio is just the usual word for eat, but it just uses esthio. Just to do this again, the raging of fire, being about to devour those who are opposed. Arthetesas tis nomon mo usios, choris oik timon epidusin atrissimatusin, apotheneske. For someone having athetized, having put aside, rejected, for arthetio, the law of Moses, apothenesko, he dies, choris oik tirmon, without mercy, without pity. And then epi, at the, well, this is from the dative plural, so it's at the witness of two or three, so at or by means of two or three witnesses, literally. Epi is always a tricky word to translate. So we might say on the evidence of two or three witnesses. Posso docete keronos axio thesatai timorias hoton huion tu theou catapatesas kai to haimates diathekes koinon he ge samenos en ho hegiaste kai to pneuma tes caritos in hubrisas. Now this is a question here. So by how much more do you think, slightly odd construction here, but this is what it is. By how much more do you think that the one kata patesas, patio is to walk, and katapatios, to trample on. So the one who tramples on, literally the Son of God, by how much more do you think, axiothesatai, this is a future passive, he will be deemed worthy of keronos, worse, timorias, vengeance. This is the comparative from kakos, so of worse vengeance. And the again, we've got another nominative here, the one regarding the blood of the covenant as koinon, well, profane or unclean. It's used that word, the writers used this koinos word here, meaning unclean or profane earlier as well. So the one regarding the blood of the covenant as profane, the blood in which he has been sanctified, and who brisas, having insulted the Spirit of grace. And so that's what it is. So we have to take it the other way around, I think. So so the one who has trampled on the Son of God, and who regards as profane the blood of the covenant in which he has been sanctified, and the one having insulted the Spirit of grace, by how much would you expect that he will be deemed worthy of worse punishment, or timorias, vengeance? Oidamen gar ton eponta emoi ek dikesis ego apo ant apodoso kai palin crine kurios ton laon autu. For we know the one having said, ek dikesis is vengeance, is for me, so vengeance is mine, I will give it back, I will repay. For ant apo, it's anti and apo and didymai. And again, Yahweh, krine is future here, you can tell by the accent, will judge his people. Phoberon de empesain es keras theotos. Understand, it is phoberon, a fearful thing. So, and then we get top plus the articular infinitive here, the empesain from empipto. So falling into the hands of the living God, understand, is phoberon, fearful, is a frightening thing. Anna mimnes geste de tas proteron hemeras en hais photistentes pollen athles sin hub emenate pathematon tutor men on adis mois tekai lipses in theatrizomenoi tutor de koinonoi ton hutos anastrephomenon gen athentes. So this is an imperative here, I think, the second person plural. So call to mind or remember the previous days, en hais, in which photistentes, well, this must be something like having been enlightened. Hupomeno is to endure, to put up with, to undergo. So in which, having been enlightened, you underwent pollen athlesin. This noun is only here in the New Testament. It means it's literally you underwent much wrestling of sufferings. So you underwent much wrestling. We would say with suffering, but it's wrestling of sufferings. Now we get tuton men, and then we get a nice tuton de. This is good classical Greek. It's hard to translate the tuton, it just means in the first place. Theatrizdomenoi, this is a funny word here, it's only here in the New Testament, connected with the word theatre, means to appear in a theatre. and here it has the sense of being publicly exposed. So having been publicly exposed by reproaches and tribulations, from Philipsis, and then so at one time that, and perhaps at another time, and having become koinonoi, literally sharers or partakers with those who anastrephomenon, those who were living in this way. In other words, those who were living in such conditions. Kaiga tois des miois sun epathesate kai ten harpagan ton hupakonton humon metakaris prosedex sastai gymnos scontes ekain hiatos creatona hupaxin kai menusan. And then we get an explanatory guard. I'll explain this earlier bit. 4. Now this is from Sun and Sun and Pasco. This is just the aorist middle here. Sun Epatha. It must be from Sun Pathio with the epsilon here. So for you suffered together with desmios prisoners. So with prisoners, and pros dexaste, you received with joy the harpagain, the seizing of your possessions. It's connected with harpasdo, to seize. The seizing of your possessions you received with joy, knowing so they, knowing themselves to have huparxin, another word, it's a Septuagint word, it's very late, another word for possession or property, knowing that you would have possessions, it's singular but best in English in the plural, which are greater, and menusan, feminine participle agreeing with huparxis, and remaining. Knowing that you would have possessions which are greater and remaining, singular in the Greek, plural in English. Me apobelete un ten parasian humon hetiseke megalen mistapodosian. So do not throw away, apobello, therefore, your boldness, your confidence, which has great reward. It's misthos and apodidomi root here, turned into a third declension noun. It's only here, I think, in Greek and then in later Christian writers, this idea of this particular abstract noun. So do not throw away your confidence, which has great giving of reward. Hypermones gar ekete crean hinatothelematuthiu poiesantes commisses de ten ep angelian eti gar micron hoson hot kominos hexe kai u chronise hode dikaios mu ekpistiose satai kai eon hyposteletai uk eudoke hepsuke mu en auto. So we had hypermones on the previous page. For have need, or perhaps you have need, hypermones of steadfastness, hina, in order that having done the will of God, commis sate here has the sense of to receive, to take upon yourself. It's middle. Commisdo is to carry to yourself, perhaps hence receive the promise. So you have need of steadfastness in order that, having done the will of God, you might receive the promise. And now we get another quotation here. These are from Habakkuk chapter 2. For now we get this funny hoson. It's idiomatic. It's just a literal translation of what's in the Hebrew, I think. So it means in a very little while. So still little such, literally. It's not Greek, it's Hebrew, been just translated word for word. So in a very little while, the one coming, he will come. This is future from Heiko, which we've seen before. It's more of a classical word, and it's in poetry and prose, but Heiko, this is the future. So the one coming will come, kai u chronise, from chronisdo is to delay, to waste time, hence to delay. So the one coming will come and will not delay, and my righteous one, Satai, will live ekpistios, by means of faith. And if hupostello is to draw back. It used to be was also used of folding up the sails of a ship and so on. It simply means to draw something back. So, but if he might draw back, there is subjunctive here. My soul, uk eudoke, is not pleasing en auto in him. Hemes de uk esmen hupostoles es apolian, alapistios es peripoie sympsukes. And the writer here cleverly has taken this verb from hupostello, to draw back, and then this hupostole is just a first declension abstract feminine noun formed from the verb, so it means a drawing back, or perhaps timidity. So we are not, and it's a genitive here, so it's a partitive genitive, I think. We are not of those that draw back. We are not of shrinking, which results in destruction. It's an odd use of Greek here, but that's what it is. So for we are not, perhaps we would say, given to drawing back, resulting in apolean destruction, but we are understood we are of pistios, of faith. That balances this one here. We are of faith, resulting in the peripoiesis is a word meaning another abstract third declension noun, means obtaining, gaining, or probably better preserving, I think, resulting in the preserving of life. So interestingly nicely balanced sentence here. So we are not given to almost withdrawing, which results in, or drawing back, which results in destruction, but we are given to faith, which results in the preserving of psyche, of life or soul. And that's the end of chapter 10.